Okay, my name is Toriana Smith, and I am doing this presentation for my Human Behavior 2 class. And pretty much what we're going to be discussing are different types of theories. This is basically goes hand in hand with my conference speech that I recently did. Pretty much the name of this will be Re-examining the Theoretical Foundations of Social Work Practice. Okay. So for the psychoanalytic theory by Erik Erikson, the psychoanalytic theory of personality development. Okay, this theory basically claims that a personality is formed through three different fundamental stages, such as the ID, the ego, and superego. Now, the ID basically includes the instincts and impulses, and it's the primary source of psychic energy. Pretty much it refers to the pleasure principle. Pretty much it's like you seek pleasure. It's like you aren't thinking about anyone else. You're thinking about how it will benefit you and how you could benefit from it in the long term. Like if you had to choose, make myself happy or should I try and make someone else happy, you will always go with yourself. And that's pretty much what the ID part basically is like referring to. But it is instilled in everyone from children to kids, toddlers, all the way up until adults. Everybody has it, and you're born with it, since birth. Now, the ego refers to a person's physical self, self-concept, and self-esteem. And it can also be referred to as primary narcissism. And pretty much it's like having that sense of self. Like you're only worried about yourself. Like you think highly of yourself. You're only thinking about yourself. Like everything is just about you. It's like when a person is technically being vain or something like that. Like that's pretty much how the ego would go hand in hand with that. And the superego has the reward and consequence function. It's like when you think of something like before you make a decision, you're going to think about whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, how will this affect me? Will it have a positive outcome or a negative outcome? And that's pretty much what the superego is. Just basically trying to decide whether it's going to be a positive thing or a negative thing, how it's going to affect you, and things of that nature. But pretty much the ID, ego, and superego, it all goes hand in hand. Like they all kind of react to each other. They all fall on top of each other. You can't have one without the other. All right, now the psychosexual theory is by Sigmund Freud, and he believed, okay, Sigmund believed in the ID, the ego, and superego, but he also believed that it changes over time as the individual progresses through life. As the individual gets older, they go through different stages. Now, Freud believed that a person goes through 5 basic stages, which is the oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. Oral is from birth to 1 year of age, and that deals with the mouth area. Like a child begins to taste and feel things with their mouth. Like that's the source of where they're getting all their information from. Now, anal is from 1 to 3 years of age, and that deals with the anus. It's when they start to be able to eliminate waste and things of that nature. Now, the phallic stage is 3 to 6 years. The focus on that is genitalia. Latency is from age 6 to puberty, and that deals with the sexual feelings. Like, regardless whether it's a girl or a boy, that's where the individual begins to have a sense of, okay, like, I'm getting older now, and they're starting to explore their feelings and such. And the genital state is from puberty all the way up until death, and that's basically when your sexual interest is at its peak. That's when you pretty much know, like you're going to find ways to fulfill your sexual desires and things of that nature. Okay, now The psychosocial theory by Eric Erickson. The psychosocial theory claims individuals are shaped and react to their environment. So he believes that things around you and the people around you shape who you are. Like, he believes that in each one of these stages that a person is actually going through, different points of interest. So I should say, okay, there are 8 stages. It's trust versus mistrust, anatomy versus shame, initiative versus guilt, industry versus inferiority, identity versus role confusion, intimacy versus isolation, generativity versus stagnation. Pretty much each of these psychosocial crises goes hand in hand with a virtue and age limit. So pretty much through each stage of life has an age limit, and it basically tells you like approximately what the psychosocial crises will be and the virtue that a person will like typically go through. Now, for the cognitive development by Jean Piaget, Piaget believed that intelligence was a fixed trait and regarded cognitive development as a process which occurs due to biological maturation and interaction with the environment. Now, he believed in these 4 stages: the sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, and formal operational stage. Now, the cognitive development has 2 different forms, one by Jean Piaget and one by Lev Vygotsky. Now, for Lev Vygotsky, he stresses the fundamental role of social interaction in the development of cognition, also the impact of culture, and pretty much, the impact of your family, pretty much such as when you are being raised, the type of culture that you're being brought up in impacts the way that you see things, impacts your way of life. It impacts you because you're going to go based off your culture. You're going to go based off what you've been told. So your family are going to distill certain traits in you, and you're going to grow up believing that, and it varies from culture to culture. And he also created the zone of proximal development, and that's basically just saying that a person can get so much information on their own, but they could also get some from like they could also get some from a older adult or someone of an older age, pretty much walking through different steps with them, showing them the way to do it. You can watch an individual and they can tell you what to do, and it'll help you get what you're trying to achieve more so of you trying to do it on your own. But you need someone to lead the way for you in order for you to be able to do it. Okay, now the psychoanalytic and the psychosexual, they kind of go hand in hand because it all reverts back to the sexual slash aggression phase. Now, for the psychosexual theory, one thing I need to touch bases on is pretty much during this stage, through basically focus on the fact that a male child, will look up to want to be more like his dad, and so he would fancy his mother. And a female child will look up to her mom, so she will fancy her father figure a lot more. So as a male child, they would try to do things that their father would do in order to imitate that certain image. And so they would do just what dad would, and so they would take a liking to their mom more. They would cling to their mom more and things of that nature. Right. And pretty much that's all that I have today. I touched basis on the psychoanalytic, psychosocial, Psychosexual Cognitive Development Theory by Jean Piaget, Lev Vygotsky. But here I do have a chart. It says theoretical predictions between the cognitive development between Piaget and Vygotsky, and it says developmental significance of private speech. Piaget represents an inability to take the perspective of another and therefore to engage in truly relational and reciprocal communication. And Vygotsky says represents eternalized thought. Its function is to communicate with the self for the purpose of self-guidance and self-direction. Course of development, Piaget declines monodically with age, and Vygotsky curvilinear increasing at the younger age, but gradually, as it loses its audible quality, it becomes internal thought. Relationship to social speech for Piaget, negative is eventually replaced by social speech, and Vygotsky, positive at the younger ages. Now, influence of environmental context has difficulty. For Piaget, that frame is empty, but for Vygotsky, it says increases the task difficulty. The greater effort needed to reach a solution necessitates the action regulating role of private speech. Now, pretty much all these different theories can kind of go hand in hand, and it could help with the social work direct practice field, because each theory pretty much outlines certain concepts and tell you to go by certain stages and certain frames, and it's pretty much all laid out, and it shows you pretty much the age frame that your client may be in, what could possibly be going on, or the type of milestones they should have been achieved or what they haven't achieved. If you know that they're missing a certain aspect and you know that they are kind of behind in what you need to do to catch them up to par and things of that nature. So, yeah.